This is Florida Gulf Coast University.
This year we've had more entries than ever before. I know I say that every year, but it's the truth. Today we had 266 registered entries for the event and nearly 500 participants.
My name is Sal Grasso. I'm a biology major. I'm a junior, and my project is working with narrowband filters to enhance the imaging capabilities of the Egan Observatory on campus. Traditional methods of imaging use red, green, and blue filters, but the problem with this is that they also bring in light from artificial sources on Earth. We got a new set of narrowband filters that filters out wavelengths of light from Earth and only lets through light from nebula in our galaxy.
We wanted to find out if there was any relationship between real-life social interactions and second-life social interactions. We started off by devising a survey for the participants. We wanted to see what the relationship would be between how the participants felt satisfied in their social relationships in real life and if they felt satisfied in their social relationships in Second Life. What we found was the more satisfied they were socially in real life, also the more satisfied they were with their relationships inside of Second Life with other avatars.
My research is looking at erosion as an alternative threat to coastal ecosystems, specifically looking at seagrasses. They are a nursery to a multitude of species. I set up a gradient across this bridge, and I wanted to look at the sediment load across this gradient and the chlorophyll load, which would indicate algae. The peak of sediment and chlorophyll occurs right here where the erosion is happening most. It is highly likely that erosion is probably what's removing the seagrasses here.
My case study is actually on a symptomatic cavernous malformation in a minor league baseball player. It's actually genetically predisposed. It's usually found in the nervous system, in the brain or spinal cord. You show signs and symptoms when it starts bleeding inside the brain. You could either go through a radical surgery or a conservative treatment. Here they have the cavernous malformation, and here's a picture of it completely resected. If any healthcare practitioner wanted to implement it into their case that they're having presently, then they could use my abstract as a direction for what's going on.
This research addresses the impacts of exposure to alcohol-related cues on racial biases. Participants are presented on each trial with either an African American face or a European American face. And after that, they see a gun or tool. Participants are much more likely to say the tool that they saw was a gun if it was preceded by a black face. This bias was even stronger in those people who were exposed to alcohol-related ads.
This is an extension of the 2011 Archaeological Field School that took place at Waxy Hadjo's Landing. I was looking at the lithic materials we got from that site. The first thing we were looking at is whether or not this material was chert. Chert is the typical lithic material for Florida. We ran a hydrochloric acid test. As a confirmation, I did UV fluorescence. There's a cluster here that's just a visual cluster that has 217 and FN30 together, as well as Sewanee River and Crystal River chert. It shows us that this technique has the potential with much larger samples to give us a strong picture of where these materials are coming from.
We want to examine word mapping abilities in full-term infants. We recruited 56 mothers and their full-term infants. We had the mothers teach their infant words that went along with these objects. Afterwards, we had the baby participate in a word mapping test. At visit 1, we learned that the infants preferred looking at the objects that they were familiar with. At visit 2, the babies preferred to look at the videos where the names of the objects were novel or interchanged.
Well, it's not often we get an opportunity as peers to get together and celebrate and recognize the research and scholarship of each other. What Research Day is celebrating is that more than that scholarship, that creative activity that keeps you grounded in your discipline and current in your discipline, bringing new knowledge and new ways of looking at existing knowledge. So thank you for all of your efforts with your research and creative activities.